Hello and welcome to another LifeWriting.com conversation. With me in this segment is Mr. James Walthour and Mr. Cornelius Gibson. These brothers are joining me in observance of National Mentoring Month. JJ, I'm going to start with you first, right?
Yes, sir.
When it comes to mentoring, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Um, the first thing comes to my mind is probably tutelage, taking someone under your wing, trying to show or trying to give someone some type of guidance or direction, whether it be professionally or just giving someone guidance in life in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what say you, Mr. Gibson? What comes to your mind when you think about mentoring?
Mentoring to me is pretty much, I say the same as James, and also giving someone a way, just showing them a different way. You know, sometimes when you mentor kids or even adults,
Uh-huh.
they tried it their way so long and it's not working.
Oh, good
And
point, man. Good point.
Yeah,
maybe you can just make them open their eyes to see things different. And
absolutely.
that's mentoring, helping them along the way.
Helping them along the way, and as a good point too, as JJ signed off on, it's kind of like one of those. Like I said initially, you picture the younger guys, looking up and out to some older person, what have you, male or female, whatever the case may be.
Correct.
Exactly.
But that's not always the case. You can reach out and over to a brother who's your same age, or quite frankly, I run into several young brothers much younger brothers than I am, who I look up to. I value their opinions, their advice. They've kind of been there, done that. Be it formal training or whatever. Again, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I'm glad you made that point. So, growing up in Waynesboro, Georgia,
Yes, sir.
we were all surrounded by a wealth of mentors, be it in a professional type of, be it formal setting. Some of the guys that come to mind, like Robert Allen, right? Right, legendary.
One of
Right.
the first names popped in my mind.
That was the first name came. He was gonna be the guy I spoke on. He came. We grew up in the same neighborhood where he was,
Right.
the husband and the father of the two up there,
Yep.
and he was our mentor.
He was our mentor.
Whether he knew it or not. But man, listen, he was a great man. Listen, they just honored him. I think last year for
I
doing
think
his
it
job.
was.
What 45 years at the records department.
Right.
Man, this guy, he was a mentor.
And not long after that,
He gave
I'm
us
sorry,
away.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, not long after that,
Uh-huh.
I actually saw him and had a chance to speak with him, and I was kind of ribbing him, teasing him a little bit about the time he had been out there,
Right.
and he said, "Yeah, man," he said, "It's been that long." So I kind of asked, I was like, "Robert, when you think?" He said, "Man," he said, "I don't know."
Wow.
He said, "I enjoy what I do." He said, "It's really not work to him."
Right.
He said, and the other thing, he said, he said being around young kids or young
Yeah.
people all the time,
Yep.
he said he almost felt like that keeps him young.
And that's good point.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Good point. Now, look, I was going to ask you guys. Just that. Like, what mentor comes to mind, or what have you? And just for the record, Robert meets Allen just rolled off my tongue. He just came to my mind because, like you said, he was one of the first people I thought about when I was even thinking to put this production together. But I do want to share.
Chris, if I would,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one
Go
other person I have to mention.
Uh-huh.
I always said, even though I was never in one of his Boy Scout troops or whatever, Mr. Beaver Sap.
I knew it.
That's my man. You know that's where I was going at.
I knew where you were going with that one.
Look, I
That's where I
always
was going
said,
at.
I looked up to that dude because, look, and I'm not trying to say anybody is perfect.
Right.
No, we're not perfect. But when I think about a good man,
Yeah.
he is one of the first people that pops into my mind. I say that dude,
Right.
and I'm saying that because he held it down as far as financially with his family.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he always seemed to make time for other people or other causes in the community.
All of the time. Yeah.
You hear about so many young guys our age, younger guys, you know, they actually had him on the news about a year or two ago.
Oh, I think I heard about that too. Yeah.
What was his name? He was Robert, I think his name was Robert. He just retired from the military, yep.
Robert, no, Wayne?
He was in the Boy Scout troop with y'all.
Yeah, I'm gonna call his name, I can't think of his name right now. Let's talk on it. He'll come back.
He retired from the military. I think for like 30 years, close to 30 years, if not 30 years.
Yeah, it was over 30, I think.
Yeah, and he talked about Mr. Sapp and the impact that he had on his life, and you know, so those two men, like you said, we had Robert because he was right there in the neighborhood with us, and we saw him on a regular basis. But Mr. Sapp was another one. Yes, sir.
Mr. Sapp, Mr. Beaver Sapp, and I was I was going to circle back to both of you guys with respect to anybody else that like came to mind, but there's two people, obviously in addition to the two we just talked about, that were really close to me that you two know, but they were particularly mentors for me because they stepped in place of an absence, right? And the two guys, I'll cut to the chase. The two guys that I'm referring to are my two younger uncles, right? R.M. Kelly and Derek Jones. Man, look, if I kid you guys not, if it wasn't for those two, I'm talking about in some pretty key times and areas in my life, I literally don't know where I would be right now, man. Seriously.
Wow.
I really wouldn't. They stepped in, those two, and the irony of it has always been that they're the younger siblings of both of my parents, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
anyway,
on both sides. Yes, sir.
On both sides. That those two right there have always stepped in, and you know, just any question that I had, they always kind of you touched on it earlier with respect to Robert. They would always circle back, whether you know I like told them to check on me or whatever. They didn't forget certain things. Hey, remember when we talked about X, Y, Z or whatever? Hey, what happened with that situation? And depending on what response I gave them, hey, well, think about doing this next time, or think about you know what I'm saying? And it was so important to have that type of real-time feedback, especially from people that you not just look up to because you have to, your older uncles, but you know, from a community standpoint, you know, people know them, people haven't trusted, you know, people like this.
Correct.
So does any other people come to mind, by the way?
Well, with me, you know, I talk about Robert, but I didn't go into about Beaver. You know, Beaver, he was my scout master, and listen, he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about life, surviving in life, and still today, you know, I'm honored and blessed to have him. You know, me and him, I'm going to tell you how good this thing is, how good Lord work things up.
Wow.
He brought me up as a little boy. Okay. Taught me about camping out, how to survive, and you know, as I got older, I joined, you know, my church, Philip Road Baptist Church. Beavis out is at that church. And look at this, bro. Y'all want y'all to listen to this one.
Okay.
I had an honor of accepting a deacon role at my church.
Okay.
With me and the same man we talking about, Beaver South. Me and him accepted at the same time, and we got ordained the same day.
Wow.
You know, and this man still teaching me about life lessons. When he talking with me, he like, hey, how you doing? How your family doing? You know, making money, saving money.
Right.
When you retire, you want to be able to enjoy life. You want to live life comfortably. Like Jay said, you know, he's a good man in the community. He checks on a lot of people.
A lot of people.
He checks on a lot of people, man.
Well respected.
And he's well respected. And you know, that guy, he's an awesome guy. And I want to talk with my uncles also, Chris. My uncles, man, Bernard, Jimmy, Leon. Hey, man, they was awesome too. You know, they always come to mama's house. They sit around because, you know, mom had 3 boys. So she's a woman. You know, she's a single parent.
Right.
We need some guidance in that house how to be boys and turn them in. So those uncles came through for us, man. And you know, I thank my uncles for everything. You know, the sit down stories and talks we had about when I was going wrong. They corrected me.
Wow.
Hey, you gonna be a boy, but I want you to grow up to be a responsible young man.
Yeah.
So they had to tell me the right and the wrong.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's mentoring to me too, right there in your family.
No, that's it. Hey, look, hey brothers, we got the good fortune of Mr. Shilo Robinson joining us.
Yes, sir.
What's up, brother?
Good evening, fellas.
Brother Lowe.
Hello. What's happening, buddy?
Not a thing, man. Just trying to finish making this day special for this young man.
No, absolutely. Hey, look, we were just talking about, various mentors, right? Guys, in this case, guys who have kind of, stepped in and kind of, pushed and carried us along, which we know first, a lot of this firsthand, particularly in a programming and in a formal type of setting. That's why I was so wanting you to be a part of this conversation.
And I was doing my best to get here because I was like, oh my goodness, this is, one of my passions.
That's right.
Hey, look,
that's right.
Can I add just one thing here, Chris? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
First, I want to piggyback back to Brother Gibson. I thought he was going to share this little tidbit of the relationship that he has with Mr. Sapp. But what he failed to mention, and I'm going to go ahead and mention it, was that when Gip first went to Phillip Grove, Gip wasn't always on his best behavior. So the same man that he became a deacon with used to have to basically babysit him in church to make sure he wasn't getting out of hand in church.
I didn't have no church etiquette, man. When I went to church, I was a little boy, and the only thing I knew was having fun. And even at the church, I wanted to have fun in church.
Right. Oh man.
But hey,
so Shilo, we're just talking about some of the first mentors that come to mind, and 2 that we mentioned off the bat. 3 of us, without hesitation, were Robert meets Allen and Mr. Beaver Sapp.
And Beaver Sapp.
So
most definitely. One for me, and for a lot of us as well. Usually when we think of the recreation department, Robert Allen is the first one that comes to mind because, of course, he's paid his dues.
That's right.
But Purvis Brown.
Yes, sir.
Purvis Brown paved the way for a lot of us.
Purvis Brown.
He did a lot of things behind the scenes.
Yes.
And not only did he do those things behind the scenes, he did not have a problem pulling you to the side and jacking you up.
Yes, sir.
He had no problem being the enforcer.
No problem.
No problem.
Oh.
Hey guys, I wanted to go back. I think Purvis was the first one that gave me my first job. Play lot. That's who hired us.
Hey, Gip. Same here, Gip.
Even though I didn't get a chance to get in when you guys got in because my first job was CIS with Chris and Joe.
That's right.
But that next year, when they didn't do the camp again, Purvis was the one that, he made a spot for me to be able to work. And then from every year that I actually came home during the summer, and it was all right. I'm holding you to a different standard. And if you're gonna be out here at the main office, this is what we expect. This is how you end up having to carry yourself. But this is how you're gonna have to carry yourself from this point and beyond.
That's right. There you go. That's right. So let me ask you brothers this, right? So, Shilo, we were talking about, and you just mentioned CIS a minute ago, community and schools, right?
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to ask you brothers about, be it again, formally or informally, like what type of mentoring are you involved in today? Shilo, will you go ahead and take that first for me?
Well, first and foremost, when I was at CIS, I had the pleasure of being the mentoring coordinator for a while. And, that was identifying some of our kids that needed role models and matching them up with people from the community and basically having them to check on those students on a regular basis. So that was a very big deal. But right now, the two main things that I'm a part of, actually on a part of the newly established task force for the homeless here in Augusta.
Oh, cool.
Right now there are about 843 identified students that are considered homeless in the Richmond County school system.
How many?
843.
If I can for a minute.
Go ahead.
My wife, who y'all all know, is also employed by the Richmond County Board of Education.
Okay.
As a kindergarten teacher, man, it breaks my heart when Fran comes home and tells me that she has students on her grade level that, like Shilo just said, are identified as being homeless. Yes, sir. So it's a real issue up there.
It's a very big deal, man.
Yes, sir.
And we're trying to establish different, not just protocols, but actually are going after some funding to try to help offset this. Being right here, working at Westside High School, I'm right here on, for Washington Road.
Right.
And, as soon as you turn out of Westside on Washington Road, you have that little straightway with the hotels.
Yeah.
And man, right now there's an issue with the patrons being put out in the morning.
Okay.
And they end up having to walk around, sit on the road, go to some of the convenience stores until the afternoon. If those rooms aren't rented, then they'll allow them to come back in that evening. But if they're not, if they're rented, then they just have to fend for themselves for the night.
Wow.
And so, it is very real. And it's funny because that same stretch of road is, in April, you don't see any of that, when the TV crews and the cameras come in for the Masters, they try to end up making those people disperse and then begging them to come back after the Masters leave. So it's very real and it's very heartbreaking. And right now they are looking at some funding, but it's like a catch-22, because yes, it's going to be helping those families to get some shelter, but they're also trying to push them out towards those hotels out by Fort Gordon, off of Gordon Highway. So it gets them off of Washington Road, and so of course comes
Here's the thing, and thanks for sharing. Obviously all of that, because you guys know I like we chat, we converse in our boardroom and stuff like that, and catch up in other settings. But these are the type of conversations, information that I like gleaning from conversations like this, because it's like I got to be honest, like I would have had no idea that any of that was going on in Augusta, namely, and especially at that magnitude, almost 1,000 people.
Right.
And
that's just the students. That's not even talking about.
That's just students.
That's just the students. I mean, wow, man. And again, thanks for shedding light on that. So get from a formal or informal setting. Like what type of, are you involved in any mentoring at all?
Well, at this time, I'm a part of our youth ministry at the church, like in a church setting, whatever.
Yeah.
And we get the small kids and teach them the way as they're growing.
Right.
Teach them about saying the Lord's Prayer, and it ain't all about church though. We're gonna teach them about life.
Right.
We're gonna teach them about right and wrong, because to me, I feel like if nobody never teach a kid or teach anybody right and wrong, as they go in life, they're gonna keep doing things and being disciplined and don't know why they're being disciplined.
Exactly.
But you gotta understand, some things you can do and some things you can't do. So I think, as we get them at a young age and start teaching them the right and wrong, and get them some guidance, and teach them about, the love of God, it give them, a sense of direction,
right,
and things like that. And also, I mentor, as we talked about Robert Allen, we played basketball, football through the recreation department. I spent some time back. I coached some kids in football and basketball. So as sure about teaching about right and wrong and going right and going left, I teach them. I have fun with them also. We play sports, and one thing about playing sports, it teaches you about it's a life lesson.
Yeah.
With all up, we play sports. It teaches you about brotherhood. It teaches you about being dependable.
That's right.
And so I try to instill that in the kids also.
Yeah.
And so at this time, that's about the only thing I'm doing, like mentoring is right now is youth ministry at church, but also at work. I have some younger guys at my job.
Right.
Right. And they come in and the young people today, they think they own it.
Hey, Gib, that's another whole conversation in itself, brother.
That's true. But the thing is, they need guidance also.
They need it.
So
they need it.
Some guys, man, they respect me as a man.
Right.
And I thank them for that.
Exactly.
And I can talk to them. Sometimes they get upset and blow up and start the curse words and blah blah blah. Like, listen, man, that ain't how you handle that.
Yeah.
You handle that by, if you got a problem with the person, go to the person you get a problem with.
That's right.
Don't go out just blabbing. I teach them the way how things should be done.
Yeah.
And the way they will be respected, other than just blowing off, cursing, and walking off the job. One day you're going to be a father.
One day.
You're going to be a husband.
That's right.
So I try to teach them the way, that they should go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing now.
JJ and I were talking about that earlier about, maybe not mentoring in a setting, something comparable to say Shilo or even what you just mentioned, but at work, you're right. It's just so often we run into these young brothers, man, and they're out there, and especially in a work environment, I think, it's a responsibility on us older heads, if you will, right?
Correct.
To step in there and offer some type of guidance or what have you. So JJ, did you want to expand on any of your dealings, like at work or what have you, as it relates to
situations with like mine at work. I see these young guys coming in, and it's almost funny. I don't consider myself to be an old man. Excuse me. But I guess when I think about it, I guess I am an old man compared to some of these younger guys that come in. And, I try to, first of all, I try to fill them out because I'm just going to be totally honest.
Correct.
These young people today, they are a different breed, man. Like we alluded to Purvis when we were growing up. Man, I remember one day I was walking down the street and Purvis stopped me, man. I mean, it just lit into me. You know what I'm saying? Right. With these kids today, Purvis probably couldn't do that, man.
Hey, JJ, no, that right there, go ahead, man. That's a great point.
So I have to feel some of these little young cats out. Okay, Let me see how I can talk to them. What level do I need to be on? Just fill them out. The ones that I feel, okay, they're going to be receptive to what I'm saying.
Yep.
Or trying to show them. So I give them try to give them advice on when they run into situations on the job, and I find from time to time, they'll come to me, they'll be like, look, Jay, got so-and-so going on. What do I need to do? How do I handle this? And I try to point them in the right direction. Not only point them in the right direction, if I were you, this is what I would do. But once I go talk to them, this is what I would say to them. So that type of thing. And the other thing is, when we were talking, when you first mentioned the mentoring, I find myself latching on to some of the older guys at church. These guys in their mid to late 60s, some of them early to mid 70s. And Fran will tell you now, some of them I talk to on a regular basis, calling them, as the old saying goes, sitting at their feet, trying to see what wisdom they can impart in me.
Right.
I'm soon to be 47 years old, but hey, we can still learn. No matter what age we are, we can still learn. I talk to these guys, man, and they telling me, different things, and even though they may not even know, but I'm feeding from this, man. They giving me this, and I'm eating off of this, saying, okay, well, if this situation come up, and sometimes I call some of them and say, hey, man, I got this situation going on.
Right.
And what do you think I should do? How you think I should handle this? Like I said, these guys are old enough to be, well, some of them are older than my dad.
Yeah. So
I called them and I was, look, man, how do I handle this? And like you said, it's all about learning. Somebody showing you the way, you showing somebody the way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal setting, but we can all be mentors.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Definitely.
The other thing I want to add, I was waiting for Shilo to say it. Shilo mentors now, man. Shilo, as a basketball coach, man, you gotta believe you impacting them guys' life, man.
Yeah, bingo.
Man, it makes a big difference, man, and it's funny because when we're out and about in the community, I can always tell, where a kid or an adult knows me from, just by how they greet me.
Right.
Exactly.
All the students that are products of Westside, they refer to me as Coach OG. Now, where that came from, how it started, I have no idea. But so that's how the guys and the girls refer to me. They're out, they're like, Coach OG. If they're from the Laney or the Collins sector, it's Coach Rob. So we can always identify what set they're in just by the way they're addressed. But,
Coach OG, I like that.
But you're very, you're absolutely correct on that, JJ. And even with that, there are a lot of the kids that, just around the kids that we coach, that will actually come for guidance as well. And this year I'm doing Edgenuity, and we had a kid that had been struggling.
Okay.
He was, he was there for socialization, and they were really just, to some degree trying to just go ahead and just get him out. And man, I asked, can I have him?
Okay.
And I had a younger brother in the building, but I didn't have him. And man, of course, we had to have that come to Jesus, sit down meeting as, okay, man, this is what society thinks of you. They don't expect you to be successful. They don't expect you to succeed. But I know that you have it in you. And if you're willing to work with me and meet me halfway, I'm gonna get you up out of here.
That's right.
And man, he came in and he actually, first couple of days, I was like, man, all right now. The agreement was that if you come and perform for me, I was gonna, help you.
Yeah.
And then he finally came in and decided to get. You really think I can do it, man? I know you can.
That's right.
Man, by mid October, he was complete. He just walked 2 weeks ago, as far as getting his high school diploma, when they didn't even think that he was going to end up graduating at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's just by being around the others.
Yeah.
And so, our deal is, I always tell the students, the kids, high maintenance, high character, low maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's because people, even when you're not aware, they're always watching.
They watching.
Yes, sir.
And how you carry yourself is very big. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's in any realm.
Don't be afraid. That's right.
Right. Because you can always learn. And I'm looking at that this year. I wasn't directly, a part of the varsity football staff because, the tragedies that both myself and Coach Hunter had as far as, our family. So I had to make sure that I had his back.
Right.
But the guy that coached the middle school at Tut actually reached out to me and, man, I just want to pick your brain, what can you do for him? So, man, I went and initially, my deal was just to advise, this is a suggestion, this is, I don't want to be hands-on, but of course, before long, when you get around that grass, hey, you in.
Right.
And there was a kid that ended up coming up to me, and he asked, Coach, can I have number 34? I said, okay. I said, what's the significance of 34? He was like, that was my dad's number and he passed. And I said, wait a minute. I said, who was your father? He was like, I'm originally from Burke County. My father was Fred Evans. I said, Buster? He was like, you knew my dad? I said, son, I played with your father.
Oh, wow.
So yes, you can have 34 and I'll make sure that you get 34.
Man.
It's like, man, never would have ever known that I would run across that situation. And I said, okay, let me reach out to your aunts.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Keisha and Trisha and let them know, hey, I'm over here. I'm helping out with your nephew. Please, if y'all get a chance, come and check him out. And man, and they did. Man, that was very big.
Well, yeah, you sent chills through me just then with mentioning that name. Wow. Yeah.
Yes,
man. Again, thanks for sharing that one, man.
So I ended up showing, I was like, man, here's a picture. Here's our region championship picture. Here's your dad, And he was like, Coach, could you send me that picture of my dad? I was like, man, of course I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, so look, on that note, Shiloh, I want to I would like, each of you just to before we close out, just share, be it a sentence, a few words, or what have you. The first, thing that comes to mind, if you had to offer some words of encouragement to a mentee. Um, so, Shiloh, will you kick it off?
I surely will. There are going to be good days and bad days. Of course, as far as you said, church, I won't complain.
Mm-hmm.
But the one word that I always try to share with them and say that this is a part of life is that word adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the adversity that gets you, it's how you deal and how you react to the adversity. Is that adversity going to be, the end all be all, or are you going to take steps to correct it, to fight through it, or keep going? So no matter the adversity, keep going.
No, absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Mr. Walthour?
Man, I was sitting there thinking, I'm saying to myself, kind of to piggyback on what Shiloh just said, man, as we go through this thing called life, sometimes, it's going to kick you down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up to you whether you decide to stay down or not. Every action, and I guess I can sum it up like this: every action has a reaction. So it's all about how you react to things, man. As Gip alluded to earlier, how you dealing with situations or how you decide to handle situations. So, you just want to always try to put on a positive front.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever situation you may be going through, you can always make it better, or you can work on it.
That's right.
You said life is going to kick you down sometimes, but and I kind of touched on this earlier when I was talking to Chris. I know I may be going over here, but as we were talking this morning, and I mentioned about the absence of a father, I took that and made that into a positive.
There you go.
Most definitely.
That's it, brother.
There you go.
That's it.
That's it. Mr. Gibson, what?
Yes, sir.
What say you?
Decision making.
Yeah.
Let your decision making. Don't let it come back to hurt you. Let's make, like you say, our current state is not going to be our final state. We're going to always.
Wow.
We're going to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make good decisions where it won't come back later on to harm.
Right.
Wow.
So
that's it. Yes. and for the record, I echo everything you brothers just shared. Absolutely. And yeah, Jay, you're right. We touched on it earlier this morning. Sometimes we have a board. In our lives, we don't have certain. We feel we don't have certain support. Direction from certain individuals in our lives or what have you. But and we've all talked about this before, how we flip the script. And we inverted the whole thing and like, well, I felt this way in that situation. I don't want my kid to feel that way.
Exactly.
I felt that way in this situation. You know what? There's no way, if it's in my power, God willing, that my daughter, my son, or whomever is going to experience anything remotely close to that. So I just always, and again, we've said it time and time again, I've always liked how all of you guys and the other brothers, Joe, Chris, Alonzo, Jeffrey, we can name some other names. We can go on and on. How, again, we just flipped the script. And
totally flipped it.
What we didn't have or didn't experience or what have you, that's precisely the thing that we ensured that our kids, again, had or didn't experience and so on and so forth. So it's just awesome, man, just to see how you guys have we've all grown together, continuing to grow together. As you mentioned, I've always deemed myself to be a lifelong learner. You can never know enough. You can never know. You just never stop learning. That's my thing. Never
iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. Hey, fellas,
27:17.
We're gonna go ahead and close this out. Man, I can't thank you guys enough for, I mean, sharing your precious time. Thank your wives, because they're allowing us to do this, right? But yeah, happy New Year to you guys. Thanks so much for
Sure.
sharing this information and being open and honest about it. And it's just an awesome way to kick off 2022 here at
Yes, sir.
lifewriting.com.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
Thank
That's
you
it.
for having us, boss man.
No, absolutely. Hey, you guys
Great
hold
to be here,
on
bro.
for me. Just stand by. Again, I thank you guys, and we're going to circle back and do something like this. There's all types of topics down the road that we're going to be discussing.
Cool.
So having brothers like you participating in this, it means the world to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John, for having us, bro.
No, absolutely.
Enjoy it as always, brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, look, everybody, that was Mr. James Walthour, Mr. Cornelius Gibson, Mr. Shilo Robinson, sharing various tidbits with respect to mentoring and mentorship, if you will. There's just so much to go around. We could have been on here for another hour or so talking about how many mentors, especially back home, who have positively impacted our lives in some form or fashion. So I thank you guys for tuning in and for supporting lifewriting.com. Remember, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Where Writing Speaks. Right? Thank you guys again for supporting lifewriting.com, Where Writing Speaks.